And I thank the member who has brought this motion at a very timely moment. And on behalf of the people of West Mugirango, I want to support. Madam Speaker, electricity or energy is everything. It's the driver of our economy. And unless the cost of energy is stemmed, then the cost of production and consequently the cost of living will not be affordable. To achieve this, it is indeed important that we evaluate the production chain to ensure that there are no leakages and there is no hemorrhage which is transferred to the ultimate cost of electricity. And it is true that Kenya Power, being a monopoly, has been entering bilateral agreements with independent power producers and prefers purchasing the expensive energy first at the expense of the cheap and clean green energy that is generated by the geothermal, by KenGen, and even wind power. The Ministry of Energy, Madam Speaker, needs to rise to the occasion. We cannot be relying on hydro, which was brought to this country during the colonial era. And fortunately, Kenya sits at the equator where we enjoy 12-month sunshine. And it is real important that we consider as a country to do a radical shift from relying on hydro only and lay emphasis on solar energy. So much so that we also need to amend the construction laws of this country so that we make every unit that is constructed to have a provision for a sufficient solar panel that will provide sufficient energy for that household, as well as release the excess of that energy to the national grid. We must migrate from relying on these giant power producers in this country and go towards a small-scale power production where every household harvests energy using solar panels, utilizes what they need, and sells the excess to the national grid so that we convert our current energy consumers from consumers to producers of energy. And it is really important that a country that is now 60 years old needs to look for ways of raising very cheap energy for driving the economy. Madam Speaker, if you notice, we have a crisis, particularly in the rural areas. From the West Mugirango, where I come, there has been a large-scale theft and vandalization of power transformers. And why is this happening? There obviously is a market for the oil within the transformers, as well as a market for second-hand transformers. And who are the consumers? I suspect that some of these illegal stolen transformers and oils are being recycled back and sold again to the very people who are supposed to procure new transformers, and therefore the cost of all this is still transferred to the poor consumer. Whatever it takes this country, Madam Speaker, to reduce the power and energy tariffs, it needs to be done. I support and thank you, Madam Speaker,